You are listening to the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I am your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. Joining me as always, halfway across the world, Jared Morgan.
G'day, how you going?
Doing well. Folks, if you could hear our pre-show banter, your jaws would drop.
The warm-up has been done, so let's just launch straight into this, shall we?
Jump straight in. I do want to, while I'm feeling saucy,
Ooh.
more tales of the Movie Pass. So, Movie Pass is basically out there saying, "Hey, you know what? We're doing okay now because people aren't able to go see movies on our Movie Pass anymore."
We're profitable again because no one's using our service.
According to new stats that they've come out with, the average person is seeing less than one movie a month. Woohoo!
Less than one movie a month.
Now, here's the deal.
Right.
Their initial stats were saying that 80% of their users only saw 3 movies a month anyway. And that was when they had unlimited ability to go use this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now they've thrown on heaps and heaps of hurdles to jump through. So of course people are only seeing that. So here's me. I am actively checking the app every day, seeing what movies are actually available for me to go see. And if it's a movie that I actually want to put forth the effort for, then I go see it. I only saw 3 movies in September.
Where you were seeing like about 10 when it was unlimited,
I was seeing sometimes 3 a week.
Mm.
So now I'm like sitting, and the thing is that because they limit what movies you can see each day, and they determine those movies. It's not like you get to pick. These are the movies. You know, they call it 6 to 8 titles that are available. Unfortunately, it includes a lot of indie titles that are only available in 4 theaters in the entire United States.
But they're available. Chris.
But they're available. And you can see any movie you want if you can go to one of their preferred theaters. Unfortunately, a lot of those are bargain theaters. And like I said before, I have some in the area, but it's a good 20-25 minute drive to get to them, so it's not convenient necessarily.
So putting that in perspective for Queensland customers, that's like me driving into the city from North Lakes,
right? But so
to see a movie, and so no.
So if you take this week's release, okay, which the big releases this week are Venom and A Star Is Born.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday, they let you see A Star Is Born. You cannot see Venom until Sunday, and then they'll have A Star Is Born back on Monday. But then they also limit what showtimes are available. So it's not just a matter of, today I can go see the movie I want. Then it's a matter of, and can I make it to the showtimes? No, I wish that they would. The funny thing is they're blocking out the late shows. Like I tend to go, after my kid has gone to sleep and everything's done with the house or whatever, I'll go to a 10:30 p.m. showing.
Mm-hmm.
Those showings don't wind up being available. I'm like, why aren't you making the show that nobody is going to available? Same thing with, if it's a movie that's been out for, say, 3 weeks, that should just be available. You know, the crunch of people going and seeing it is over. Just make it available. Nope, even those are on limited. You know, so there's movies that I missed 3 weeks ago, and throughout the time, like maybe it'll pop up, and I just didn't have the time to go to it that day, and now I just can't go see them because they're not offering them anymore. It's really, really bonkers annoying, but I just had to laugh that they're like, success! We've got it to where people aren't using it at all.
I love that. That's the success measure that they're using. It's like people aren't using it, so excellent.
Right. So on that note, our local one of the theater chains in the States is called Regal Theaters, and they were offering a program in conjunction with Lionsgate releasing, where if you see, and they tell you these 4 movies. At the end of, if you see all 4 movies in the theater, then you'll get those for free when they're available digitally.
Okay.
So I had already seen 2 of the movies, just for the sake of that I actually planned on seeing them. And the 4th movie that doesn't come out until November, I was planning on seeing. So then there was the middle movie that I needed to go see. Something called Hellfest, for which I knew it was a horror movie. I had not seen a single trailer for it. I barely knew, other than the fact that it took place in an amusement park. That is all I knew about it. And I'm like, you know what? What the hell? Screw you, Movie Pass. I'm using you, and I'm gonna get. I'm gonna qualify for this other thing. Out of spite, I'm
just
gonna go. Oh my lord! You know, when people sit there and say, "Oh, this is the worst movie I've seen all year," and it's like for some big movie. No, folks. Let's go watch what some of the worst movies of the year are, because they're shockingly bad.
Right.
This thing, it turns out, is basically one of those. I don't know if you have them in Australia, but we have them all over the States here at all the amusement parks. They basically have these Halloween horror nights kind of things.
Yes.
So they got the mazes, the creatures running around and stuff. That's what this is. It takes place during one of those. And there's some killer killing people. If he hears it, they say, well, that's not scary. And then he slow stalks them through the park and kills them. Yay.
Okay.
But the saddest part is, for a horror movie, very little gore, no scares. And it didn't even have, I was holding out hope. I get to that breaking point in a movie where I'm like, okay, we've got a half an hour left of this. There's no point in walking out. Let's just ride it out the rest of the way and see if there's anything positive, right? And when you think of a horror movie, what's the one positive that you can hope for at the end of the movie, right? A good twist, or that final stinger, final bit of the movie. Lame. I was the only person in the theater too, because again, 10:30 showing on a bad horror movie during the middle of the week.
It was a private screening for all the wrong reasons.
I still out loud had to go, F you. It was so terrible.
I want this hour and a half back in my life, please. It's not even worth being free.
No, it really wasn't. It was all sorts of torture. So
wow.
Yeah. Anyway. Things that are not torture. Hey folks, guess what releases this week?
Delicious settiness.
A little Zen Williams table action. So I'm sure all of you, while you're listening
it'll be a couple of days from now, right? Yeah.
Well, by the time this podcast drops, on Tuesday, that's the release day. So yeah, folks,
I'll pull my finger out and actually get into editing it early. Yes, it will
be. So while you're enjoying some Williams pinball in Zen, why don't you go ahead and I guess you'd have to first listen to this and then know to play. But anyway, that's happening. We'll have we'll discuss what the final release like, because we have not sampled it since Zen pulled the beta. So it's been in a mystery box for 2 weeks cooking, and we're really anxious to see what's cooked up. So that'll be what next podcast features heavily.
I'll be very much looking forward to checking out what Greg from Spaceys does when it comes out, because I reckon he'll do a very nice cabinet exploration on it as well. He does a really good job of those.
Yeah, his videos, and then our encouragement within our private forum with Zen basically spawned the video that Zen put out, which was the direct comparison of their physics.
Yeah, which was awesome, right?
It's all you can ask for, because for as much second guessing as you can do, going, well, that's not real, and that's not how it behaves. We've always said it. We don't know what the machines are that are in the studios, and this was the same case with FarSight. We don't know how their machines played.
No,
it could have played exactly the way that they tuned it, and you wouldn't know. And so I was really
all their machines may have been off their feet and basically level.
Right.
Who knows?
Right. So if Zen is tuning it to how their tables play, that's good enough for me. If it's matching what is realistically in their facility, fabulous. And I do got to recommend Spacey's video specifically regarding that, because he did, talk about crazy, he did screen layovers of showing what the version versus the pinball version, and then put it into super slow motion. It was a level of geekdom that I was really excited over.
Yeah. Hey, how we've been asking people to, work out how we can improve our YouTube videos. I think we might be ignoring the obvious here.
Yeah, but he's not live. He does his edited, but maybe he knows a thing or two. Yeah. Later on in the podcast, when we play our interview with Mike Lindsey from FarSight, technical difficulties prevented us from actually playing it live in the video.
Yeah.
So you people on YouTube are going to have the fun of pausing our video, then going and starting up that video, and then coming back to this video. Whereas you people in the podcast, with video doesn't matter, and it's
basically,
it's going to get dropped in. So podcast still rules over YouTube, but there you go.
Now, until we work it out. But what have you been testing to try and get around some of the production issues that we're having at the moment? You got a recommendation from friend of the forum, Jeff, eh?
Yeah, that was more for doing live audio drops, and I downloaded it and I took a stare at it and I went, I'm flummoxed, and so I need to have a session with Jeff to get that going on. But unfortunately, that is completely different from this other issue, or maybe it's all tied in together. I don't know. I'll try and work on it for next week. We'll see.
So we are working on it, but it's not as easy as well. It's not so much. It's not as easy as we expected. We knew it wasn't going to be easy, but it's living up to its expectations. Put it that way.
As my wife goes, she goes, you know what I would have done? I would have just played the video and put the camera on the screen and let it go through that way. And I was like, that's a very analog way of doing things. But then again, it would have gotten the job done.
Yeah,
it's the same old thing that I had when using say Photoshop, where I'm like, if I just had a piece of paper and a pair of scissors, it would take me 30 seconds to cut this out and glue it onto this background that I wanted. Why is it taking me 2 hours to do this in Photoshop?
Yeah.
There is an easier way. It's just that when you're doing it on your own, trying to figure it out on your own, very difficult. You need that person next to you going, just do this, this, this. Oh, okay. Once I do that, then
and it's done.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna talk a lot of VR today, because I went over to a friend's house who has an Oculus Rift, just so I could experience what the state of things are, other than my limited experience up at FarSight with their VR headset. And this is leading up to, obviously, this last week, Stern Pinball Arcade VR got released. And so that's what we were wanting to talk to Mike Lindsey about, and that's what you'll hear soon. But first, you, Sir Jared, went and experienced a little virtual reality pinball cabinet action.
Well, I did, actually. Yeah, it was quite fun. So, friend of the show, Wolfson, from the Digital Pinball Fans Forum, invited me and generously the whole family over to his place. And because he's got himself a tidy little virtual pinball cabinet. Now, this particular one isn't an Arcuda cabinet, but it is one that's produced locally here in Queensland. In fact, just down the road from where I live, actually, in Deception Bay. And this one is, it's basically, the one that Wolfson has is it's a fairly basic model, but it's a monitor that's just dropped into the cabinet. Doesn't have a animated back glass or DMD or any of that, so all the DMD action happens on the play field, just like you would see normally on a pinball, like a normal game screen, like we expect now with Zen and FarSight if you're just playing on your PC. But it's got what this manufacturer has done is they've used the Pinball X front end system for it, and that's like essentially an overlay that lets you select the games. And the way it works is there's buttons on the front of the cabinet that you use to select and stuff. And there's even like left click and right click mouse buttons that are like proper buttons on the cabinet, so you can like use any of the rough edges of the interface layer and select things. And it's taken a leaf out of the Arcuda cabinet style with the lockdown bar, because the lockdown bar has full MAME controls on it, so 2 joysticks, 6 button layouts for like all the MAME emulators in it as well. So you can use it as like a proper like Steambox and MAME emulator and pinball cabinet. So it's one of those. It has the DNA of Arcuda with the way they were going with using it. So it's like a piece of arcade, not really arcade equipment, but home arcade all-in-one system, right, that you can use for pretty much everything. And Wilson got me over because he invited me over, but he had ulterior motives, you see.
No.
He needed me to come over and help him with a bit of tuning.
Oh, so you did a service call.
I did actually do a service call, a digital pinball service call. Who would have thought? So he got me over and he said, "Yeah, I'm having a bit of trouble getting the future pinball tables." Which, of course, if you're not familiar with future pinball, there's a scene emerging in that particular one for all the Stern pinballs, the modern Sterns, and you can play things like Avengers and Avatar and all these ones that we haven't yet seen come through any of the official licensed digital platforms yet. And he was having a bit of trouble getting that to run smoothly. So remembering what Jeff was talking about with tuning and where to start with tuning, I was going, oh, yeah, I had to do a little bit of this when I was trying to get it to work on the service book. So I should be able to muddle my way through this. And we got it working pretty smooth. You know, it's the classic thing. You got to go into the NVIDIA control panel and just drop everything back, basically, and then start tuning it up from there. But we didn't have to drop much back. The cabinet, the cabinet that Wolfson's got has got I think a NVIDIA 1030 in it. So it's a relatively powerful card, and the PC doesn't seem to be that sluggish either. I think it's just the way that the future pinball tables are engineered. They're actually quite demanding.
Wait, so this is future pinball, not virtual or visual pinball 10?
Well, this overlay, Pinball X, has all tables from all different frameworks. So it has
but the things that were chugging were in future pinball.
Future pinball, that's right. So visual pinball was fine. It was playing things quite nicely. There was, I think, a Lord of the Rings visual pinball table, which was really nicely working really well, actually, playing really slick. But yeah, it's the future pinball ones that seem to be a bit of performance hog, at least in this particular configuration.
Because I know that within Visual Pinball 10, you can play modern Sterns.
Yeah, I think it's just when the Pinball X interface, it's quite nice in the way that it's engineered. So you go through and you put up this overlay menu and you step through it and you can sort by category. So you can sort by modern Sterns, EMs. It's got really good filtering options.
Okay.
So you filter on Sterns and it'll give you all the Sterns, everything from, Flight 2000, any Stern table using any digital pinball framework, including ZenFX2, Pinball Arcade. They're all in one. Okay. And the way they work is the overlay essentially is like a menu system. So when you scroll over to the table, it has like a video running of the table. Not actually, it doesn't actually load the table from start. It's like it really is just like a launcher, if you think about it like that. So you're scrolling over and you find the table you want, you select it, and then you load the table. It's like a 2-button press on the front of the cabinet. And then you get the loading screen, and then it starts it up. Now, depending on the table, if it's like a virtual pinball table or like a future pinball table, one of those, it will just launch straight into the game. But if it's a game like FX3 or Pinball Arcade or one of those, what it does is it actually does a menu transition. So you'll load the game and then the machine will take over, navigate through the menu system of the game. So it'll navigate to the point where the table is and then start the game. So you don't have to actually touch anything. So you don't like start the game, then go, oh, navigate to this table, press OK, and then it starts. You just hands off and the machine just takes over and does it all for you. So it's interesting. But I noticed that the particular build that they were using had old versions of all of the, well, certainly of Pinball Arcade. It was running the carousel menu version of Pinball Arcade, which is quite old now. And
sounds like somebody had a hacked version.
Yeah, potentially. It sounds like it might have been one of those. Let's just say that I think the way they're provisioning their machines is from an image. So I have a feeling they've imaged the machine and they've just gone, well, this is the image snapshot, so we can like quickly roll these out.
Right.
So let's just say that they're using an image for deployment purposes. Yeah. To make it easier, and quickly move on. And so
it's funny that you mentioned with the whole like Visual Pinball 10 and Future Pinball, because recently Jeff Strong had wanted to get that running on his computer, and one of the other users on Digital Pinball Fans, Loafer, was helping him out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm reading through Jeff troubleshooting to get this running, and it was like having post-traumatic stress disorder. Because I'm just like, this is why I played it, I believe, when it was Visual Pinball 7. Like, I think I caught the tail end of that, and then I was in Visual Pinball 8. I'd already worked out all those kinks, and I had it running, and then I didn't play it for many years. And by the time I came back to it, Visual Pinball 9 was in full throes, and I tried getting that up and running, and oh my gosh, this is just banging my head against the wall. And so I commented that on the forum, and they're like, no, but it's really easy. We can get you walking through it and everything. And I'm like, it still doesn't, like, even if you get the program running, then the other thing that was giving me, hives, right, was then it was talking about, oh, well, this guy's version of Terminator 2 is really good visually, but this guy's version of Terminator 2, the physics are better. And I'm just like, oh, great. So now you're going to have 3 or 4 different versions of these tables, depending on what you want. That is precisely why, even though it was flawed in comparison in a lot of respects, why I preferred Pinball Arcade. And this is why
baseline set, right? It was consistency,
consistent all the way across, and it just worked.
Yes,
hopefully
you didn't have to mess around with
it, except for when occasionally the table would crash.
But
it's the same.
Easy to fix. You just restart.
Well, no, some of the tables would automatically.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They were just broken. But this is why I'm so excited for Zen, because again, I know it's going to be consistent. The physics, the look, the ease of use, it's just there.
You really only need one program on your digital pinball cabinet.
Right.
And when they get all the tables in there, that's all you need.
And I mean, and truth be told, the only 2 tables, and I kind of mentioned this, the only 2 tables that I'm really jonesing for within why I would download Visual Pinball is I want NBA Fast Break, I want roller games. Yes, I would like to play the newer Sterns, but I'm also just kind of like patient. I don't know. I'm not overly hyped to play them either. So I'd rather just go physically find them, because those I can physically find. It's these other tables that I can't physically find anymore. But it's like, sorry guys, you're really not going to get me to be a convert, because I just gives me
it's too much trouble. Yeah. And I even, like, when I was looking into, because I thought, well, let's go and have a look at this Future Pinball and see what tables are available for it, because there seemed to be a fair few on offer in the version that Wilson had. And I went, okay, well, let's go. Where do I get these tables from? So I went to the Future Pinball site, and then I went, so you can go to the forum and download all the tables. So I clicked on the link, and it's an Nginx 404. So there you are, blocked right there from actually downloading any tables for that platform. So you can probably see why, when these cabinet makers, these hobbyist cabinet makers are actually doing these, they're using some sort of image to provision them, because you don't know when you're going to lose access to these things. So what it did show me, though, is playing pinball in a cabinet form like that with decent quality hardware and buttons and stuff like that, it really does feel good to play pinball like that in a digital cabinet. It sort of, you can't deny it, even though this particular cabinet that Wilson had didn't have a digital tilt, like a accelerometer-based tilt.
Right.
But even without the tilt, like, altogether, you could tilt it with buttons, but I just didn't even bother, to be perfectly honest. I was just flipping away and having quite a lot of fun just with regular flipping. But it does go to show that, playing pinball in cabinet form, you can see why there is such a grassroots movement with virtual pinball cabinets, and the work that
Well, and it's kind of why I'm bothering to do this. I guess people are calling them microcabs.
Yeah.
It's what if you want to look it up online, it's PinSim, and that's basically what the card that is helping to run the cabinet out the box without having to create your own board for. But
or like Frankenstein an Xbox 360 controller or something like that, you know.
Yeah. So, but I just want to show you this because this came in the mail the other day. I've been buying parts for it. This here, that's the accelerometer.
That little module.
That little module. It's a little tiny, you know, call it 1 inch by 1 1/4 inch flat piece
postage
of goodness.
Stamp. It's a postage stamp with an accelerometer on it.
Yeah, basically. And that's what all the parts are like. The electronic parts are. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, right.
I've had a go. First off, I got to say thank you to Tim. Tim sent me a bunch of buttons, pinball buttons, including a launch button that was pretty rad.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be being installed. Obviously, I posted up on the BlahCade, the BlahCadePinball.com site, an article about my coin door that I got and the legs that I got, trying to clean them all up, the plunger shooter. So it's kind of the beginnings of that. But then I went on to Amazon and tried to load Amazon with as many of the components that I need because I can get free shipping.
Right.
That's the biggest thing is it's like you go to some of these sites that had the exact same component and it's like, yeah, the component costs, you know, $12 and shipping costs $8. It's like, come on, you know.
Yeah. It becomes very expensive. You're better off just going and doing a bulk order through PBR and getting all the buttons through there and just with one amount.
Well, no, because PBR has a different type of button. These are arcade buttons.
Right.
So I need arcade buttons. Right. I need arcade buttons. I need a joystick. I'm only going to need 2 pinball flippers. And yeah, that's when I do need to go to Pinball Resource and order that. But again, you're going to be there's going to be a standard shipping rate. It's just going to be, you know, first class postage, and it's going to be $10 for the shipping or whatever. And I'm not going to pay that when the flipper buttons are $12 total.
No
so
way.
It's going to be instead. It's going to be, well, look, I know that there's parts that I need for my actual machines. So when I do a big order of that, that's when I'll throw that. In the meantime, I'm almost thinking of cannibalizing my Firepowers flipper buttons, which are. I just looked at them. I looked at them. They're nasty. They're going to be needing replacing anyway. I mean, they've got like, I don't know,
chips out of them.
Yeah, they're gross.
So, like, what's the harm in using them? Like, you probably want to have the nicer buttons on your cabinet. So,
well, again, when the time comes to order, the buttons themselves aren't that expensive. So if you throw them in with a large order, then who cares about the shipping? But if all you're ordering is that, then that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how quickly this thing, the cost racks up really fast because you look at the big components, you go, oh, yeah, that's this price. But then you forget about, oh, you need to buy wire, you need to buy capacitors, you need to buy header pins, you need to buy lumber.
Yeah, the lumber is expensive. Even if you get, like, I found when I was doing the bottom of Star Race and replacing the bottom of the cabinet, you know, even non-structural ply, it's expensive.
Yeah,
really is.
So that it all kind of is adding up rather quickly. But I'm down to one of the final things I need to buy is the PinSim card. Yeah. And what I was waiting on was because I didn't see any notification that it would handle the L2, R2 triggers. Mm-hmm. And I'd contacted Jeremy Williams, who's the guy that started this whole thing and created it. And he was asking if I was actually wanting analog input, because apparently somebody else had asked about that because they found a pinball button that was full analog. Not a leaf switch, but it was full analog. Actually, I shouldn't say it's a pinball button. It's an arcade fighter button, because I guess Street Fighter, whatever, you can do, depending on how hard you push the button, that's how hard the punch is.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so I got all excited. I was like, oh my God, that would be perfect. I go to the link for where the button is. The button was only $6 a button. I'm like, sweet, let's try this out.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Right. I put it into the shipping to just see how much shipping was. $72.
No, what?
I have no clue why. What on earth requires that? But I'm like, thank you, no.
Nope. That's ridiculous.
stupid price.
It's probably coming in a box that's 8 times the size of the actual button itself.
Part of it is, I guess it was from this thing called Paradise Arcade or something. I think that was what it is. Anyway, I think they're based in Hawaii. But still, it doesn't cost that much to ship something unless they're like overnighting it. I don't know.
Why would you? No, that's probably a question.
It was crazy, but anyways. So yeah, I threw that out the window as an option. But
it'll be available for somewhere else, like surely.
I've looked. I don't know. I don't know where it is, but anyway. So that's gonna be coming along. I got a whole box of parts, a whole bunch of arcade buttons, and the joystick shipped to me yesterday, and I've got more parts that are slow boating from Taiwan on their way also. So that'll be coming together relatively soon, and I'll have another update posted about that. But that gets me into the VR talk. Tell you what, before we go into my experience with VR, why don't we go ahead and let everybody take a listen to my interview with Mike Lindsey from FarSight, and we kind of just have a general discussion about both the Stern Pinball Arcade VR and what's going on at FarSight now. So sit back, take a listen. We'll be right back. And we're back from that. Okay. You might have heard some of my hesitation within that interview, and part of that becomes my experience with VR in general. So because I don't have it, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what is considered good VR, bad VR. My perception is just as a complete newbie throwing on a headset for the first time. And to me, there are some inherent issues with VR that I don't know how you're going to get past, regardless of what the program is. The first being putting on the headset. It gets hot in there real fast.
Yeah, true.
And it rests on your cheeks and kind of presses against, and that kind of gets... Look, I can handle it for 10 minutes. I couldn't sit there for
a marathon gaming session.
An hour. No, I don't think I could do it. The other thing is, and I don't like how you get into this whole little world, and so long as you're holding the controller, your world is fine. If you put down the controller and then go to reach and try and find it, then you wind up knocking things over on desks as you fumble about trying to get it back in your grubby little hands, right?
Yes.
And then you have to lift up the headset to find it, and then when you put it back down, well, now you got to recalibrate where you are.
I think that's why, you know, with the Oculus Rift and stuff, they have the little straps on the controllers, so you can like let go of the controllers.
Okay, so we tried two different kinds of controllers. My friend, they have these, I don't even know what they're called, but it's the Rift controllers. They look like what you would slide your hands into for a hockey pole or for a ski pole.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's two little grips that slide over your hands. And yes, you could put a wrist strap on there and be good. And actually, in the virtual environment, it shows you these things floating around. So
you can see them.
You can actually grab them, and it's accurate to where they are spatially. So that's
right, okay.
But we were not able to get those to work within the Stern Pinball Arcade VR app. So we had to use 360 controller.
So the default controls that are part of Oculus Rift would not work with the game.
Well, here's the thing. Don't know, because some people, like Dead Flip did a streaming session, a Twitch stream, and he was using them. So my friend may not have had it configured correctly.
Okay, well, look, if Dead Flip have got them working, then I'd rely on that more. But
right. So again, I can't comment on if that is in fact an issue with the game or not. It could have been.
Sounds like it probably isn't.
I
do know that if you go on Steam, there is no controller profile available for Pinball Arcade. You have to map your own, essentially. Like, you know how you can normally download, or there's one already predefined in Steam when you launch a game.
Yeah.
Like there's none available for Pinball Arcade out of the box. So that's something I actually brought up with them a while ago, the fact that they should actually define mappings and actually make them, you know, like Zen do with theirs. Like you go in there and all the buttons have, you know, all the menu buttons either have a keyboard map or a controller map on them. And it works nicely that way, but it doesn't on Pinball Arcade. There's no nice, when you would use a console like PS3, it has like little button hints over all the menu items that you can just quickly navigate into. Yeah, they don't have that. So that's something I need to fix.
I was going to say, because I don't have a problem if I plug in a 360 controller, recognizes it and functions. I have to use the DS for Windows app if I want to use my PlayStation 4 controller, which is my preferred controller for pinball.
Yes.
But one thing that does not work, and this is rather annoying, the R1, L1 buttons are not your flipper buttons. You got to use the triggers. Triggers bad.
I've been using triggers when I've been playing Zen, because you get the two-stage flip. But
it's such a long throw that it's too much of a throw, and it cramps my hand using triggers. Whereas the buttons are just it's the short press. But anyway, the point is you can in Zen you can alternate them back and forth. Within Pinball Arcade, you can alternate them back and forth. You can determine where they are. Within the Spa VR, it was L2 R2 only, and a lot of people are up in arms over that. But so then another issue is VR is very much custom to who is normally using it. So my friend had it set to his height, which was 6'2". I'm 5'10". So we had to adjust that. And then it was how close he had it set so that if you lean too far forward, all of a sudden a grid would show you that basically you're getting too close. And that's a parameter that you can set within it. So
really VR is tailored for one person and one person.
It's tailored for one person only, and it's also tailored for somebody who has had some experience fumbling about in VR. Somebody like me, I couldn't navigate anywhere just without being told, oh, you need to look over here. Okay, now you need to do this. And then it was a matter of, oh, now hit the B button. Well,
what's the B button?
I don't have the B button in front of me. Wait, let me lift up the headset. Oh, there it is. And oh, crap, now I got to reset everything.
Oh, no, really?
So there was that issue. Now within the Spot app, my issue was that because with the push of a button, you can kind of like realign the camera. Well, if I was standing full straight up and I pushed it, it had me apparently all of a sudden being 7 feet tall and standing on top of the pinball machine.
Right. Okay.
Again, this could be where his sensor was set up. So
potentially,
right. It's like you're taking out the uniformity of this kind of thing, and that plays havoc on the actual program that you're using then. The other thing was that as soon as I'd stand there and I'd set my height and everything, the whole table would be offset to the right. And so I would then have to kind of like scooch myself back to make it centered. In Zen's VR, because we were playing both of them, boom, it was dead center every time. So that was kind of an oddity. I wound up having to kind of do this squat stance in order to get the table to somewhat where my height was. The other issue that I was having was that it looked like the whole table was sloping downward. I didn't experience that, and I mentioned it in the video. I didn't experience that when I was at FarSight. So again, it might be where the sensor is set,
potentially,
more configurations. So those are the kind of things that's like it's hard to review a game when there's all these outside factors kind of at you. What I can, though, review, and what drives me nuts, because this was everything that I tried in VR. I'm sorry, but the resolution is not there. It's just not there.
Right. It's
a screen door effect, so you've got that where you can kind of see grid lines, if you will.
Yeah.
So you've got that being a factor. And then on top of that, any kind of text that you try and read, if you're looking at a pinball machine and you're looking at the inserts, I can't read a single one of them from where I'm standing. Now, apparently, if I had leaned way over at the instruction card and leaned really close, I would have been able to read it. But that makes no sense. I should be able to visually just look down and see it. Same thing with all the inserts on the table. It wasn't just a factor within Spa, because then I threw in Zen VR. I was playing the Back to the Future table. And if you know, down on the apron, they have the whole time machine setup, with the three banks of time. I could barely read those three things. So again, that was within that. Now, obviously, I wear glasses, but I can see close.
Yeah, right.
So you would think that I'm perfectly fine wearing the headset and not having that be an issue. It's just the other thing is you got to understand. I come from the camera world, and on the movie sets and the cameras that we use, it's a digital eyepiece that our camera operators look through. I'm used to what that eyepiece looks like, which is an OLED. It is
very crisp,
very sharp. We use it to see focus, folks.
I'm
talking about putting up circles of confusion, which are these kind of grid-like checker patterns. We have to be able to see that they're razor sharp. And we can do that through these eyepieces. There is not a chance in hell that you'd be able to do that with an Oculus headset. And again, you're dealing with a price factor because an eyepiece on one of these cameras is probably $20,000.
Right. Okay. So there's
a cost factor.
Your limitation right there.
Right. But that's what I'm expecting to see. And my friend was like, "Oh, but you get used to it after about a half an hour." I'm sorry, that's way too long. And the problem is the second I take off the headset, I'm back to seeing things the way that I expect them to see, and then I throw on the headset, and now I'm like back into having to get used to things. He threw on a movie for me, a 3D movie, and it was kind of fun because you could determine the screen, make it seem like you're sitting in a movie theater with an 80-foot screen. You could curve the screen, you could make it flat. It was kind of cool, right? But it still wasn't crisp. It was not Blu-ray crisp. It wasn't DVD crisp. It was standard definition crisp at best.
Like 480p crisp.
Yeah. Which, again, unacceptable. That's not what I want to see. So I know that there are a lot of VR fans out there. I just don't know how you get past those fundamental issues. I guess you just have to kind of learn to accept them and be like, no, I'm cool with that. The thing that I will say that is, look, seeing these tables in 3D is fantastic. And I get why people like it. When we were playing Back to the Future has this skill shot that I've never been able to figure out for the life of me.
Yeah,
I've read the instructions. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't understand what you want me to do. I see the thing in 3D and like that. I'm like, oh, that's what you wanted me to do.
So tell us what you actually have to do to get that skill shot.
Well, the problem is Doc Brown is blocking the very thing that you need to see for the skill shot. So when you launch, the ball is going into what's basically a half loop, right? So the ball launches up and then plops onto the habit trail that rolls forward and goes through the outside of the table, which is funny because if you look at the outside of the table, there ain't no habit trail popping out there. So it goes into some phantom zone, which is kind of funny. But right at where that loop kind of drops down, there's another habit trail that goes sideways. So if you hit it just lightly enough, the ball will flop onto that and then roll onto the table. And that's the skill shot. If you hit the ball too far or too hard, it goes right past that little thing and then rolls down the rest of the way.
Right.
In 3D, I saw it and I went, oh, I get it. I completely understand.
Right.
In 2D, I had no idea that was even there.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know how to get the skill shot on this table, so I just ignore it.
So that's the kind of thing that is, I get why people love pinball in VR. The Frankenstein table, which is an ugly table to begin with, looked so much better with everything spread out. It's like things can breathe. You understand the spacing of where everything was. It's one of those things where I wish that they would still offer these things in 3D. So that you could just standard
glassesless 3D,
yeah. It would. I know that that's the trend to getting. Everybody's gotten away from it, but it would be nice to be able to do that. It was
inexpensive. It was accessible to everyone with a TV that had 3D capability on it.
Yeah,
and
I would certainly rather put on a pair of 3D glasses and play than put on a whole VR headset that I can't see anything else that shuts me off from the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that really troubles me about VR, and the fact that you are completely isolated from the outside world. And yes, that's what virtual reality is about. I get it. But if you are trying to sell this in a family environment, you go, oh, hey, honey, I'm just going to go and play visual pinball see you later. I won't be able to hear you or see you or talk to you or interact with you.
And when you want my attention, you're going to tap me on the shoulder, and I'm going to freak out because I have no way of knowing you were going, anywhere near here, and I'm in a foreign world.
Yeah, that's not gonna. That's VR appears to be a bachelor or bachelorette thing only.
Yes,
unless you have a very understanding partner. So I just can't. I can't. I see him playing at work, Chris. Like we got 2 VR Oculus Rifts at work, and they're just there, and you can just go and step up to them, put it on, and play. Whatever you like in VR. But every single time I see someone doing it, it just looks strange, and you see them bashing into walls because they actually walk into the area and they haven't got the area fenced off, because there again you have to define your area based on your size and your head perspective and all that. And you see them just like walking up the things. You go, you're about to punch that glass whiteboard, mate, when you're trying to play. I forget that one that's really popular at the moment with all the wireframe characters. I forget. Anyhow, doesn't matter. It's beside the point. The point is, it's just I just can't. You have to have almost like a theater room that you set up your VR in.
Yeah,
so it works, because it's just.
My buddy had a good point too, because he's like, I really want to love VR, and this is not the friend that I went over to, but a different guy. And, this is a guy whose setup is a 40-inch 4K monitor on his desktop, surrounded by 2 20-inch on each side 1080p monitors, so that everything is the exact same resolution. He can drag things from one screen to the other. This is just what is on his desktop, right?
Right.
So he's totally the person that would really love to do VR. But as he was pointing out, he goes, if I'm playing a first-person shooter game, he goes, anybody that actually has shot real rifles, how you hold a rifle, how you hold it up and sight down the line, you can't do that in VR, because either the device you're using is going to bump into the headset, or nobody's made the device. You're now going to have this specialized gun. Or, okay, fine, maybe you can do it using the handsets, but now you don't have the weight, you don't have the same form factor. He's just
You're not breaking that fourth wall. It's VR, but it's still VR 3.5.
Right. He goes. Instead, it would work great for a Star Trek game where everybody fires from the hip anyway.
Yeah, right. Or Star Wars, where all the stormtroopers are just like firing wherever, it doesn't matter. They just hold the gun backwards, basically.
Right. So yeah, I'm really not sold on the VR. I think that the idea that Arcuda had for their cabinet, for their virtual cabinet, with the Parallax 3D, much better implementation.
That's the winner right there for me.
Pinball, at least.
Beyond that, yeah. But yeah, the other, putting on a headset, I think it would be marginally okay from a usability perspective. I'm thinking of the interface perspective. If you were to make your PinSim controller and then implement VR in the constraints of that sort of
sure, because then my hands have muscle memory for what is in front of me, and what is in front of me kind of simulates what I'm actually experiencing on screen.
That's right.
I have a standard base that I'm standing at. If I set that base to the exact same distance from the cameras every single time, then that whole experience of it's consistency of the setup, that would all coalesce.
That's right, and I think that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So sounds like we don't like VR.
So we just made a whole lot of new enemies. That's fine. We're used to it here at the BlahCade Pinball podcast.
Folks, we want to know what you think. Are we way off base? Are these
what are we doing wrong?
Are these form factors that you have had to just accept, or do you know something that I don't? And hey, what did you think about what Mike talked about in the interview? Let us know. Give us your comments. These are the kind of things that we can then talk about next time. Just your responses, our responses, what we all think about what's going on here with that. That would be all groovy. You can do that really easily. I've had people contact me in any number of different ways. So the first and most assured way is to send us an email at BlahCade@gmail.com. If you want to contact us via Twitter, you can send a message with by just going at BlahCade, or you can send one directly to myself or Jared. I am at Shut Your Traps. He is at Jared Morgs. You can find me on Digital Pinball Fans and send a private message that way if need be. I don't recommend that one because it's kind of a pain in the butt for me to get in there and navigate, and plus the mailbox fills up rather fast. But you can even do it that way. That's how I was. Yeah, you can contact us by Steam if you see us on there. That's another way that you can do it via chat. So there's all manner of ways of doing that. That's how Tim contacted me and asked for my address and wound up sending me the buttons. So again, Tim, thanks. That was really, really awesome.
Legendary.
Yeah, that was quite generous. And hey folks, if there's anybody out there that has pinball flippers with the leaf springs that you don't feel the need to use, if they're slightly nasty, if they're just lying there collecting dust, I will happily take those. And please get in contact with me, and that would be awesome. I would love that kind of thing. Any of the cast-offs that you don't need for that I can use towards building the micro cab, as I'm calling it, please let me know. I'd love to take anything that you have, and it would be a pleasant donation, put it that way. Something I can't even believe we forgot about this, Jared.
What's that?
Our t-shirts.
Yeah.
And it's not just our t-shirts, folks. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have phone cases, we have iPad and your tablet cases. We have stickers if you feel like that. It's not just t-shirts either way. You can have baseball shirts, you can have hoodies, you can have a sweatshirt, you can have tank tops. There is a myriad of different things with the two, I'm calling it the simple logo and the full circle logo, if you will, of our of the BlahCade. One has the Corona, if you will, around the BlahCade name. The other one is just the BlahCade symbol. Go to redbubble.com, search BlahCade. Now, when you first do a search, maybe 2 items are going to pop up. Click on that item. You're then going to be able to select more like this, and that's when you're going to find a myriad of things. You can pick the color of your shirts. You can pick the quality of your shirts. I think the prices on the shirts start at, I think, 19, somewhere around that vicinity.
Yeah.
And then based on the quality of the shirt that you are buying, prices go up. I think hoodies are the most expensive, obviously, of everything.
I don't know. Shall we talk about the dry run that I did? Because
please.
So I did a dry run to test out the like basically how the shirts look, because we didn't want to say, hey, look at all these shirts, and then people start buying and go, these are really crap, guys. What are you doing? So I thought, no, I'll take one for the team, and I'll order a couple of different varieties. So I ordered the heavy cotton version, which is like the standard sort of t-shirt that's with slightly heavier cotton, and I ordered the other one, which was like the heathered colors. So the colors with a bit of sort of fleck in them.
Okay.
And so I ordered the sort of like a heather red color of the BlahCade square, and a green regular heavy tee of the BlahCade round. And I think for me, if I was going to get them, I'd probably go with the heathered colors. I found for me and my body size, I think the sort of standard tee size, it didn't really fit me quite as well.
Was it a slim fit?
No, it wasn't slim. It was just sort of didn't have the right cut for me.
Oh, okay.
It didn't sort of like, it just sort of was a bag. It felt like a bit of a bag on me.
Oh, but okay.
Again, this is a problem with t-shirts and buying clothing right online, because you don't know until you actually get it. But for me, I found that the heather colors, because they are more of a contoured fit, I wouldn't really say they're slim. The recommendation, I think, is they say if you like a looser fit, go for a size up. But I did that with one of the other shirts that I got through Redbubble, and it was just too big for me. So I don't really think you need to actually go a size up if you're doing it. So For me, it was XL, and XL was perfectly fine for my body size. So yeah, I really the quality of the print is good. It's nice and crisp. The logo looked good on the t-shirt, which is why we're going ahead with it. And I tell you what, the turnaround time of these things was so quick. I ordered it on Friday, and I think they had them printed on Monday, and they were to me by Wednesday.
Yeah. So, see, this is different than what we were doing with the Represent site, which basically was collecting a bunch of orders and then
batching them and printing them.
Yeah, and then actually printing them, like, I don't know if it was a couple of weeks or maybe a month.
Every week. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this, it's to your order as soon as you put it in. And not only that, but it does local printing, so the shipping costs aren't outrageous.
Yeah, so these were printed somewhere in Australia for me, and that's why the turnaround time was so fast on them.
Yeah, so, and if I ordered them, they're going to be printed in the U.S., and more than likely, they're going to be printed near me in the United States. Same thing if I order in Europe. They have facilities in Europe, so it should save on both time and the shipping cost.
Yeah, the thing that was killing us with the Represent service was the shipping was almost as much as the shirts. And I know that really turned off a lot of folks when they were trying to order. It turned off me. I went, oh, geez, I guess I have to order one of these shirts, but it was a real punishment because, you know, it was a good amount of shipping involved.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have that problem with this. And you can actually order a number of different things from the portfolio. In fact, that's what I found when I was using the site. Like Chris was saying, you go and search for BlahCade, but then you go to the portfolio tab on the site, and that's where you get all the different option types. So try that out. Go to the portfolio tab, and you'll see all the different varieties that we got there. But yeah, I'll be ordering stickers, I think, next, and probably another heathered shirt in a couple of different colors. The color range is really huge. They've got a really good selection of colors. So you don't have to just go for black or gray. There's green, there's pink, there's like all different sorts of colors.
And we allow you the option to either pick the logo in black or to pick it in white again, so that if you're picking a black shirt, you're going to want the white logo. If you're picking a white shirt, you're going to want the black logo. It's all.
We try to make it really, really flexible in what you get. So yeah, you don't just have to get shirts. You can get cups, whatever you want. So,
so again, if you want to support the show, we get a small cut from this, and that all goes to benefiting us being able to host our sites and you know, hopefully improve things like the YouTube video if we find programs and stuff of that nature. So it's not just me and Jared pocketing money. We're not doing that at all. It's all it's all dumping right back into the show. Yeah,
it's like a trust fund for the show.
Exactly. So again, redbubble.com, and that'll be posted in the show notes. I'm going to be updating my signature on Digital Pinball Fans to have that too. If at some point you guys are like, but I like the old logo, because, you know, all 6 of you bought one, let us know.
We can do a vintage. We'll do a vintage
version and put that up there too, but not right now. Okay, that's plenty of us talking. Again, let us know what you thought of the interview with Mike. Give us some feedback, and we'll have a discussion about that next week. Make sure that you go ahead and pony up some dollars for Zen's Williams collection, because it's well worth it. And yeah, that's it from us. We will talk to you again next week, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
See you later.